we don't have no sound issues. Because when I tell y'all, I was so mad last week because what I do is I chop up my videos. I have a software that chops up my videos for me, and I chopped up the TikTok video, um, but I like using the YouTube video instead to chop up, and I couldn't chop it up because there was no sound. So, and it's like I see on YouTube now that is pulling my sound. So I feel like y'all should be able to hear me. Shouldn't have no issues today. We shouldn't have no issues today with the sound. Let me get TikTok going and then we're gonna get started. Let me get TikTok going and then we're gonna get started. Hope y'all are having a great Monday. Okay, so let me get TikTok off my computer. Okay, this is why I had the Bluetooth turned off on my laptop because it will connect devices, and I ain't asked you to do all that. All right, welcome to the Balanced Millennial Monday. We are gonna get started in just a moment. Let me get my notes page up here and where it's supposed to be. And let's see. We're gonna get started. Hey, Erica. We're gonna get started. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Make sure y'all share this with anybody you feel like needs to see it because again, we are continuing our conversation about overthinking. Hey, Shortcake. So make sure you share this with anybody that you think needs to see it because we are continuing our conversation about overthinking, y'all. I got some good stuff to talk about tonight. I'm super excited. Super excited. And Facebook and YouTube, I'm pretty sure y'all can hear me. But if at some point you cannot, please let me know. But I do see that the sound is going up on YouTube. So we should be in the game today. We should be good to go. All right, y'all. My name is Key, the Conscious Living Coach, and I specialize in helping millennials who feel overwhelmed and burned out from juggling their careers, personal goals, and social commitments. I work with millennials to reclaim their time and energy by identifying their stressors, clarifying their values and priorities, and creating personalized action plans. So, by working with me, you'll learn effective time management, boundary setting, and self care techniques. So, this will lead to a more balanced, fulfilling, and intentional life. So, to work with me, email me at kei to your goals at gmail.com or check out my website, premierpersonalgrowthfirm.com. All right. Sorry, y'all done threw the notepad in front of the. I hope everybody. Okay. All right. So, again, today we are continuing our conversation about overthinking. We are decoding overthinking, and we want to talk about how you even got here. How did you even get here? How did you even get to a place where you are overthinking every little aspect of your life? How did you even get to a place where overthinking dictates and controls how you interact, how you make decisions, how you show up for yourself, how you show up for others? So we are going to continue our conversation on that. Make sure you have your journal. Make sure you have your pen, your paper, wherever you want to take notes at, wherever you want to come back to. Make sure you have that out. And we're gonna get started. Oh, I got a note right here too. Let me get this note together real quick. Okay. And then let's move this here. Remember to share this with anybody that you think needs to see it right now. That friend that's always overthinking everything and you always got to tell them chill out. It ain't that serious. You good. Your partner, if your partner is always overthinking things that you say or things that you do, send it to them. Send it to them because we gonna get started right out the bat now. All right. So have you ever had a simple thought spiral into a massive web of what ifs and should haves? If you are overthinking, you probably have. If you are used to overthinking, you probably have. You probably had one single thought and that turned into a million what ifs. It turns into, oh, I would have did this. I should have did this. I could have did this. I can't stand a woulda, shoulda, coulda. So if you've ever had trouble with overthinking, you probably have had this experience before. So we're going to untangle the concept of overthinking, and I want you to figure out how you got there in the first place. So first things first, a thought and thinking are two different things. A thought and thinking are two different things. They are not the same thing. They are not the same thing. So a thought pops into your head out of nowhere, just randomly, just out of nowhere. A thought pops into your head out of nowhere. Whereas thinking is the actual process of engaging with that thought. So again, a thought and thinking are not the same thing. A thought will pop out of nowhere. It'll come to your mind out of nowhere. It'll just be this random thought, literally this random thought that just comes to your head. Thinking is the process of engaging with that thought. You're engaging with that thought. Once you start engaging with that thought, now you're thinking. A lot of times people think that they're thinking because they had a thought. No, that's not how it works. You're not thinking until you engage with the thought. All right, so let me give you an example, right? So, okay, let's say you see someone, you're walking through the park, you're walking through the mall, you're walking through a grocery store or whatever, and you see someone smile at you, right? You see someone smile at you. That's just a thought. That's just a thought. So that moment that you're experiencing, you see them smiling at you, just a thought, right? You imagine whether you imagine it, it's just a thought. Now, once you start engaging with that thought, you're thinking, does this person like me? Are they being nice? Have I met them before? I don't remember. I don't think I've seen them anywhere before. Now you're thinking. Now you're thinking. When you just imagine the smile, when you just imagine seeing their face, that was a thought. But once you start questioning yourself, once you start reflecting, once you start wondering, now you're thinking. Now you're thinking. So you want to you want to have this idea in your head between the two, because you want to know when you have just a thought and when you are actually thinking about something. Now, the difference again is a thought is just that snap moment. So that one moment where you picture something, that one moment where you see something, where you like visualize something, where some people, okay, I also learned recently some people don't see images at all. They only see words. So I'm someone who, like, when I'm reading, I see words. I usually don't see images. Like, the only time I see images when I'm reading is if the book is so descriptive that I have no choice but to see it. And I'm not someone who really enjoys reading books that are like that. So the only time I actually see what I'm reading is if it's just that descriptive. Most times I literally see the words looping. So it's like it's like a transcript. Like, that's what I see in my head basically, is a transcript most times. So yeah, the thought is just a snap moment. Like, that thought that you have right then and there, that's a thought. Now the thinking can be the endless loop. The thinking is going to be the endless loop when you can't sleep at night. I know we talked about the 5 symptoms last week. When you can't sleep at night, when you're having a hard time making decisions, that's where the thinking comes in. That's where the overthinking comes in. So today we're going to dive into 4 main reasons why you're overthinking. Again, if you missed last week's live where we talked about the symptoms of overthinking, make sure you go check that out. Oh, y'all can't watch it on YouTube because it didn't have no sound. Okay, we're gonna figure that out. I have the whole video. I downloaded the whole video, so I'll probably delete the YouTube video and then upload the TikTok video to YouTube because it's not there anymore. So give me a couple days and then you can go watch part 1. So we're gonna talk about 4 main reasons why you're probably overthinking. So the first one is really ingrained in us, and they shape our thought processes, right? So when you're a religious person, a lot of times you're focused on just what you were taught in church, just what you were taught by the elders, just what you were taught by your pastor, right? So imagine you've been invited to a big Sunday brunch, but you were raised to keep Sundays sacred. Immediately, you question whether going is the right choice. You think God will judge me. What would my church friends say? So this simple invite spirals into hours of guilt and questioning. So the thing about religion and why I included religion in this is because in my clinician side, because this is my coaching side, but in my clinician side, my master's program is at a religious school. It's at a religious school. But even though they're a religious school, they are very big on integrating religion into counseling, because there are so many people who are spiritual and a lot of their issues come from their religion. A lot of their belief systems come from their religion. And it's the reason why they're having trouble. Hey, Doro. It's the reason why they're having trouble. Is that Dorothy? Um, So I have been trained to work with people to integrate their religion into their lifestyles, into their belief systems, into their patterns, and into their habits. So that's my background with that. But with religion, there is a lot of focus on consequences. There is a lot of focus on punishment. There is a lot of focus on negative outcomes. And so that's going to cause you to overthink a lot. Yeah, I didn't realize I had my AirPod in. I hope this is recording the sound right on TikTok. So this is going to cause you to overthink a lot because you're so focused on the consequences. You're so focused on punishment that you tend to overthink. You tend to not make decisions that you want to make because they go against your religious background. They go against your religious views. They go against what you were taught in church. And so it causes you to overthink. You end up spending hours feeling guilty. You end up spending hours wondering and questioning yourself when really deep down you know what you want to do. You know what your desire is. You have these religious beliefs so deeply ingrained that going against that feels like you're definitely going to have a consequence. So, and also, y'all, there is a thing as religious OCD. There is a thing as religious OCD. So, when someone has experienced religious OCD, what's happening is that they are having a constant fear of hell, a constant fear of punishment, and a constant fear of losing control. Because although I am not a religious person, I am a spiritual person. What I do know of I grew up religious. I got Georgia Peach all the way. I grew up Southern Baptist. So what I do know about religion is that there's a big control factor in religion that shifts people's personalities. It shifts the way that they interact with people. It shifts the way that they engage with those around them. And it makes them feel like they can't lose control ever because the consequence is hell. The consequence to losing control at any time in their life is hell. And so when you have this religious background and you have this religious upbringing and you have these religious beliefs, it can be hard for you to not overthink because you're always constantly in fear. You're always worried. You're always concerned that you're going to go to hell. You're always concerned that you're going to be punished for something. You never actually want to do the things that you want to do. You never actually do the things you want to do because you're taught that those things are not of God. You're taught that those things are not of whoever you believe in, whether you pray to Mary as a Catholic, like whoever you believe in, you're taught that those desires are not of God. And because you feel that way, you shrink yourself. You shrink yourself. And anytime shrinking yourself, you're going to overthink. Anytime you're shrinking yourself, you are going to overthink. There's also the cultural and social pressure when you are religious because you're going to have a lack of confidence to stand in your outside views. You're going to have a lack of confidence to stand in your outside views. So this is going to cause you to overthink all your decisions because you're going to have constant internal conflict. It's going to be constant internal conflict. So this is going to cause you to overthink because you're always going to have this internal conflict within yourself, whether you say it to anybody else or not, whether you accept it or not. There's always going to be this internal conflict that's going to make you overthink because what you really desire. Maybe you never want to be married, but within your religion, that's an expectation. And I think I just saw a Kirk Franklin interview that had I love Kirk Franklin only because he does whatever the fuck he wants in the name of God. Okay. And so I feel like Kirk Franklin's interview went viral. It had a lot of like people upset because Christian people, the expectation is marriage. Like a lot of men cannot become pastors if they're single. A lot of women are not looked at as leaders or looked at as if they have their life together if they don't have a husband. Married couples, if they, let's say you're a married couple, you do want to get married, but you don't want to have kids. That is shined upon in religion. So what's going to happen is you're going to conform to your religious beliefs, but you're going to be constantly overthinking the process. You're going to be constantly overthinking it all the time, all day long. It's going to be a constant um loop in your mind because you're going against your religious beliefs. You're going against your beliefs. You don't want to get married, but you're going to get married because that's the expectation. Like you're at church every Sunday and you ain't brought a wife in here yet. What is you doing? You and your partner are here every day. Maybe y'all are together, but y'all don't, neither one of y'all believe in marriage. And neither one of y'all want to be married. But you may get married just because it aligns with your religious beliefs. So that's going to make you overthink your relationship. You're going to be constantly told by religious figures that your relationship is not good enough in the eyes of God because you're not married. Whole time you don't desire marriage. You don't have a want for marriage. You don't see the purpose in marriage. And a lot of people that are religious don't see the purpose in a lot of these sanctions only because it's only taught to you in a surface level way. I remember having to explain to a man that marriage is important for legal reasons. Like at the end of the day, if you and that man ain't married and y'all been together 10, 15 years, you have no rights to that man when he passed. You have no rights to his things. You have no rights to be at the hospital with him. You have no rights to make decisions about what happens to him. So a lot of people don't understand that marriage really is a business agreement. Marriage really is about two people making a contract and deciding that these are the rules of our contract and this is what we're going to do in our marriage and this is how our marriage is going to be. But when you are religious, it's not really taught to you that way. It's taught to you as this, it's about love and you're under God and all these things and so death do us part. Imagine all the people who are married right now due to religion or who have had children with a spouse due to religion and they can't stand them. They cannot stand them. They cannot stand their partner. They can't stand a partner. They have outside kids. They have side pieces at church every Sunday, though. So, religion is going to be a big reason why you're overthinking. It's going to be a big reason why you're overthinking. So, even for me, right? I pull tarot cards and stuff like that. And I use my spiritual gift. But for the longest time, I wouldn't do any of those things. I would not engage or interact with any of those things because again, I grew up Southern Baptist. We're not doing that. We not doing that. It's a no-no. But had I stuck to those beliefs and had I stuck to those fears, I would have never been able to help the number of people that I've helped with my tarot cards. I would have never been able to help the amount of people that I've helped by providing them with clarity just from a tarot reading. Not even a session, not even a coaching session with me, but just from a tarot reading. So you got to keep those things in mind when you're overthinking. You want to start asking yourself, like, what part of my religion is impacting my thought process? What part of my religion is impacting my thought process? I remember I had some tarot cards and her cards were always the religious cards in the deck. Like she always got judgment. She always got let me think another religious card in the deck. Oh, judgment is always the first one that comes to mind. But she was always getting religious cards in the deck, and she was always getting the religious cards in the deck is because she was always having an internal conflict because of her religion. So because she was always having this internal conflict because of her religion, every single time I'm pulling a religious card. Like one of the cards in her reading is going to be religious because she has that internal conflict. So you want to start asking yourself, like when you're overthinking a decision, is it because of your religion? Is it your religious beliefs? Is it your religious beliefs? All right, next one is parenting. Y'all should know I was going to say this one. The next one is parenting. So another reason that you're overthinking is your parents. Your upbringing plays a huge role into how you think. Our parents are our first what's the word? Our parents are the first ones that teach us how to be social. Our parents are the first one that teach us socialization. So there we go. Our parents are the first ones that socialize us. So how we socialize with our parents is most likely how we're going to socialize with the rest of the world, with ourselves. Um, so you just landed a big job in a city, right? The first thing you hear in your head is your mom's voice saying, "Are you sure you want to leave everything here? What if it doesn't work out?" So instead of being excited, you spend days agonizing over the decision, doubting your ability to make the right choice. So, one of the things I really, really focus on with clients is voice, voice, voice. When you are thinking, whose voice is that? Who told you that? Who told you that? Who said that to you? So you want to start asking yourself that too. Like when you're thinking, you need to be very clear about whose voice you're hearing because it's not always yours. A lot of times it's not you. A lot of times it's not your voice. A lot of times it is not your voice. So you want to start asking yourself, who is even saying this to me? Who's talking to me like that? Erica said, I believe that because my mom is a worry wart. Yes, if you have a mom, you have a parent that worries a lot and they're constantly putting their worry on you, you're probably going to worry a lot too. You're probably going to have those natural instincts to think negative first. Somebody said, I don't know who needs to hear this, but it's time we have a woman as president. Amen. And she black. Triple points. Triple points. Because it's a black woman. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Side note. We're gonna come back. I'm going to Washington. Like I'm going. I'm going. Yeah, I'm going. Let's get back. So your parents, right? So you may have a parent that is a harsh critic. So maybe you grew up with a parent that criticized every little thing you did. The way you wore your hair, the way you dressed, the way you did your homework, the people you hung out with. Every little thing that you did, they criticized. And because they criticize you so much, now that's how you talk to yourself. That's how you talk to yourself. Because they criticize so much, that is how you talk to yourself. That's what you hear when you're thinking. Is you hear their voice, you hear their criticism. So you may have a parent that overreacts to mistakes. If you have a parent that overreacts to mistakes, what's going to happen a lot of time when you're thinking is that you're going to do the same thing. Your self-talk is going to be so negative to yourself every single time you make a mistake. Every time you mess up at work, your relationships, your friendships, at home, every single mistake you make, you're going to overthink and you're going to criticize yourself even worse than probably your parents did. Even worse than probably your parents did. So helicopter parents. So I like spectrums. Okay, I do. I believe that you can be very far left, very far right, or really. I'm all about balance. So, um, you can be little towards the middle, little more towards the right, little more towards the left. Balance is based on you personally. So it's never going to be right down the middle. So helicopter parents. They're going to raise children who don't trust their ability to handle challenges because the parents run and take care of the challenge for them every single time. I've seen this a lot. And may get mad at me, but women that are raising sons do this a lot. So, as a woman who dates, when we run into these men that can't problem solve, I bet you there's a mom. I bet you there's a mom right behind them that never let them figure shit out for themselves. Never. Every problem this little boy had, the mama was right there solving it. Every problem this teenage boy had, the mama was right there solving it. When he became an adult, the mama was right there solving it. So a lot of times, oh, oh. So if you're a helicopter parent, you never give your kids the chance to figure things out on their own. And so when they grow up, or if you had a helicopter parent, when you grow up, you don't trust yourself to make decisions because you feel like somebody has to come in and save you. So now you're going to overthink it because here comes this challenge in your face. This challenge is right here in front of you. And it's like, and this challenge is right here in front of you and you can't figure it out. So that's going to make you overthink. It's going to make you feel like you're not competent. It's going to make you feel like you don't have the skills to solve things. You don't have the skills to fix things. You don't have the skills to take care of yourself. And that's going to make you overthink. That's gonna make you overthink. Canaria said, "You're so right." They call their mama first. They a daddy. They a daddy now. They still calling a grandma. Yeah, yeah. And don't get me wrong. I know I'm all about community. Community is necessary. We, men and women need to have a village for themselves and for their children. But we also grown. We also grown. So you got to be able to solve problems on your own, especially like when you're getting into a relationship. Like, especially I'm the kind of woman like if he's not leading, there's nowhere, we're not going anywhere. If he's not leading, we're not going anywhere. So if you show me that you can't solve problems, then there's nothing for us to talk about here because you got to solve some problems around here. It's real strict around here. You got to solve some problems or there ain't nothing for us to talk about. And so that's important. Like making sure that the way that you parent is important because that's going to determine how your kids process thought. That's going to determine that. Because if you had a helicopter parent, you probably find it hard to solve your own problems too. You probably are constantly reaching out to others to solve your problems because you really can't figure it out. You really don't know how to. There's always been somebody around to do it for you. So also overly critical parents can create unrealistic expectations. So you may have had a parent that was like, "Oh, you got an 89, that's not good enough. You should have got a 95." Or, "Oh, you came in third place, that's not good enough. You should have came in first." Those kind of parents are going to turn you into an overthinker. It's either going to turn you into an overthinker or you don't give a damn at all because it's going to feel like, well, damn, nothing I do is good enough anyway. So why should I even try? But we ain't talking about that today. We're talking about overthinking. So if you have a parent that likes to create these high unrealistic expectations for you, then you probably are going to overthink because you are going to be constantly trying to be perfect. You're going to be constantly trying to achieve the highest level, the highest standard. Like think about those people in corporate or not even corporate. Think about those people. I see videos all the time of like Target employees or Walmart employees or Family Dollar employees chasing down people that are stealing or tackling them or blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it ain't enough money. That is not enough money to be doing all that. So that lets me know that they're overthinking it so much that they feel like they have to handle this situation. Oh no, you can't steal from this store. This is my store. Big macho energy. No, let them people steal that shit. Them folks gonna write that shit off, and they good. They're good. I swear, they're good. They're okay. So parenting is the second reason you may be overthinking. So I want you to assess how your relationship with your parents impacts what you think. Also, when you're thinking, not just when you have a thought, because remember at the beginning we talked about how thought and thinking are not the same thing. If you missed the beginning, I'm gonna throw that in real quick. Thought and thinking are not the same thing. They are not the same thing. A thought is that random thing that pops up, whether it's words, images, visual, sound, whatever pops up in your head. That is a thought. When you engage with that thought, now you're thinking, right? I might imagine someone's face, right? And when I imagine someone's face, that is a thought. I just randomly saw someone's face. That is a thought. When I engage with that thought, oh, do I like them? Do I know them? Have I seen them before? Now I'm thinking. I think this is where people get lost with meditation too, is because in meditation, when they're telling you not to think, they're not telling you not to have thoughts. They're telling you not to engage with the thoughts by thinking. So when you're meditating, you want the thoughts to literally float by like clouds. Just let them float by. Have the thought, let it float. Have the thought, let it float. Let it float. Bring yourself back to your breathing. Because when you're focused on breathing, it's hard to engage with your thinking. It's hard to engage with the thoughts when you're focused on breathing, because when you're not focused on breathing, that's just natural. Like you're going to breathe. Breathing is natural. Breathing is normal. You're going to breathe. But if you are engaging with those thoughts, then you're not going to be able to focus on breathing. So focus on the breathing. Like anytime you catch yourself thinking while meditating, bring yourself back to the breath. Bring yourself back to the breath. Start counting. Count your breaths, count your breaths, count your breaths. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have thoughts. You're going to have thoughts. And you can let the thoughts float by like a cloud. Let them float by, and then don't engage with them. Focus on counting. Focus on the breath. Focus on the breath. Come back to the breath every single time. So again, when you're meditating and they're saying, don't think, what they're saying is don't engage with the thoughts. You're gonna have thoughts. That's normal. We're gonna think. It's gonna happen. But let it float by like a cloud. Look at it, see it. Again, I see words. Sometimes I see images, but mainly I see words. So when I'm having a thought while I'm meditating, that thought is literally on a cloud and it's just floating by. It just floats by. So let that, and then if clouds are not your thing, clouds are my thing. Like when I'm meditating and I go to my ultimate relaxation spot, I'm on a cloud. So whatever your ultimate relaxation thing is, picture that and let your thoughts sit on that and let it float by when you're meditating. Canaria said that was a good tip. Erica said, I get it now. Yes. So when you're all meditating, use my meditations. I'm gonna have more meditations up. I just haven't recorded them, but I'm gonna have some more up. I got 2 up right now, but I just gotta record some more. All right, next one. We on number 3, y'all. We 30 minutes in. Let me hurry up so I don't keep y'all up all night. We 30 minutes in, okay? So number 3, locus of control. I want you to write that down. Locus of control. Your locus of control is one of the reasons why you're overthinking. All right, so a locus of, thank you, Canario. Locus of control. You have an internal and an external locus of control, okay? You have an internal and an external locus of control. So people with an internal locus of control, they believe that they can influence people and events. So if you have an internal locus of control, you believe that you can influence people and events. Now, people that have an external locus of control, they believe that luck, fate, chance determines outcomes. They do not believe that they have any control over the things that happen. Again, if you have an internal locus of control, you believe that you can influence people and events. Whereas if you have an external locus of control, you believe that luck, fate, or chance determines outcomes. All right, so picture this, right? You are preparing for a presentation at work. So rather than focusing on your content, you are stressing about the room temperature, the projector working, the audience's mood. So every external factor feels like a potential disaster. So control feels like it is far away, and you overthink every possible scenario. That is someone who has an external locus of control. And when you have an external locus of control, you overthink because you are always so worried about what's going on around you because you're focusing more on things that you can't control. You are focusing on things you can't control because when you have an internal locus of control, what's happening is you trust and you have an understanding that you can only control what's in your control. Your content is in your control. Making sure this presentation flows smoothly is in your control because you're the presenter. Making sure you are knowledgeable of the information is in your control. Making sure that you are engaging with the audience is in your control. You don't have no control over that room temperature. You don't have no control over if the projector stops working. You don't have no control over the audience's mood. You don't have no control over all these other factors externally around you. So people that have and I'm clear, I'm going to answer your question. People that have a locus, external locus of control, you're going to be overthinking because you're just always worried about what's going to happen. Because you don't feel like you have control over what's going to happen, you're always worried about what's going to happen. You're always stressed about what's going to happen. You're always thinking about what's going to happen. So what I wish I had. Hold on, let me get this board real quick. I'm going to draw this for y'all. Uh-oh. Rich got my markers all over the floor. Okay. Okay. Ooh, let me not fall out the chair. All right. So you got an external locus of control. I just want you to see what that thought process looks like. So you are, and let me see. Y'all should be able to see it. I can see it right there. So you are here, and this is you. Now, ooh. Okay, hold on. Let me reposition something. Okay, because I got the. Okay, so actually, let's make this circle a little bit bigger. This is you. So when you have an external locus of control, you are hyper focused on everything going on around you. So you are hyper focused on traffic. You can't control traffic. You are hyper focused on people's moods. You are hyper focused on how slow that person in front of you is walking. You're hyper focused on all these things you don't have control over. What you do have control over is your mood. These are your internal locus of control. You have control over your mood. You have control over your presentation. You have control over all the things inside your circle, inside your bubble. When you start trying to control the things outside your circle and outside your bubble, that's where overthinking is going to start. Because you don't have no control, ain't no power there. And you can't control that traffic. What you gonna do? Get out, put a vest on, and tell the folks get the hell on? You can't control the traffic. You can't control other people's moods. You can't control it. You can't control other people's moods. You can't control that slow walking ass person in front of you at the store. And every time you try to go around them, they in front of you again. You can't control none of that stuff. But you can control your presentation. You can't control your mood. You can control the things that are within your control. So when it comes to locus of control, if you find yourself having an external locus of control on the regular, I want you to start focusing on and paying more attention to the things you can control in real time in that moment. In that moment. So once you start going off, getting mad, getting pissed off about external things, I want you to stop right in and there and ask yourself, what is in my control? What is in my control? Because an internal locus of control is going to give you that healthy balance to where you may weigh pros and cons. You may think about your options, but you're probably not going to overthink it. You're probably not going to overthink it because you know what's in your control. You know what you can manage. You know what you can, take care of. But when you have an external locus of control, you don't really have an awareness of those things. You feel like everything else around you is just going to be the determinant factor in how things work for you. And that's stressful. That is stressful to wake up every day and just be like, oh, well, whatever happens, happens. Like at some point, you have to take control of your own life and you have to take control of your own experiences and your own outcomes. Canario asked, what if you have a mix? So of course it'd be normal to have a mix of, type of control, whether you have locus control, internal or external. I feel like they're both beneficial. It is definitely necessary to have an external locus of control when you are going into a situation where you can't really prepare for it. Like maybe this is the first time you've ever taken a solo trip. Maybe the very first time. You've never done a solo trip before ever in your life. An external locus of control may be helpful at that moment because there are going to be so many things that are out of your control. There are going to be so many things that are just fate, just luck, just whatever happens. And so it may be comfortable to have an external locus of control at that time because you kind of just want to experience it. You don't want to dictate everything. You don't want to have your hands in everything. You just kind of want things to flow how they flow. So having an external locus of control at that time is helpful. Just like having an internal locus of control is helpful, because even with the presentation example, right? You want to make sure that the outcome that you want for this presentation happens because you have done the work. You don't want to show up to this presentation and your content is trash, the images is trash, it's not flowing well, because that's a you thing. That's not a fate thing. That's not a luck thing. That is a you thing. So you want to start asking yourself, when it comes to the locus of control, like, is this something that I'm willing to allow happen to me? Or do I want to control the outcome? Do I want to decide what happens? Because again, sometimes that's the case. Sometimes the case is that you just want to have the experience. You don't want to dictate every single moment of the day. You don't want to, overdo it, overwhelm yourself with too many details, too many steps, too many processes. And that's perfectly fine. That is perfectly okay. And then there are going to be times where it's like, no, you want to make sure that you get the exact outcome that you're looking for. So that is locus of control. That was number 3. The last one, and number 4, is going to be values. It is your value. So what you value directs your thinking. What you value directs your thinking. That's one of the reasons why values is one of the first things I work on with clients, is because if we're working on transforming the way that you think so you can transform the way that you act, you have to know what your values are. Because a lot of times people will say that they value something. Let's say they may value money, right? Let's say you value money, but you never know how much money you have. You never, like, there's never a tracking process for this money. It's just spend a check, get it right back. That's not really showing that you value money, because there's never any management of it. It's just kind of like blow it, spend it, whatever, YOLO. So you want to assess your values. So let's say you value academic excellence, right? You've submitted a research paper, or you've submitted your midterm paper, your dissertation, whatever the case may be. But instead of celebrating, you are fixated on every citation. You're worried that one might be slightly off. You think to yourself, damn, what if I missed a key study? Will this impact my grade? My future is ruined. Like, you start thinking all of these different thoughts. For a moment that should be a relief, because at the end of the day, if you submitted that paper, you're done. Like, I remember even in my master's program having a paper due every single Sunday, and it would be Sunday at midnight would be such a relief, because I'm like, oh, the paper is done, it's submitted, I don't have to think about it again. But if you do value academic excellence in that way, you may be overthinking. Like, even after you submit it, you may be more so worried about what you did wrong. So also, let's say you value being perfect. So a lot of people are like, no, I can't make mistake. I'm the top dog. They have all these high expectations for themselves. And when you value that, when you value always being right, when you value always being at the top, no, like, you're gonna constantly overthink. You're gonna constantly overthink, because if you feel like you're always right, if you value always being right, there's always going to be this thought process. There's always going to be this thought process in your head confirming that you're right, even if you're wrong. So you're going to constantly be overthinking. You're going to constantly replay that conversation because you're trying to prove yourself right internally. So you're going to be overthinking. You're going to be overthinking. So you have to pay attention to what you value as well. You have to pay attention to what you value, because what you value is going to dictate how you think. What you value is going to dictate how you think. If you value positive vibes, positive energy, high vibrations, high frequency, you're going to be more focused and be more tuned in to those thoughts. Now, I also want to point out that just because someone says they value something does not mean that they value it. Valuing something is about your actions with it. So that's why I specifically say it's going to direct your thinking. Because when you truly value something, like, I value health, right? I value health. Because I truly value health, I work out. Because I truly value health, I try to eat balanced. Because I truly value health, I try to make sure I'm taking care of my skin. I try to make sure I take care of my body inside. I make my doctor's appointments. I go to the dentist. Like, I truly value the health of my body. And so I make sure I take the steps to stay healthy, to keep my body healthy. So when you value things, that shifts the way that you think about them. So I'm trying to think about that. I want y'all to think about that. Think about what you value. Think about what you value. And if you ever want to have a session to break down your values so that way you can become very, very clear about them, please DM me because I love doing that. I love doing a values assessment because people really are shocked sometimes about what's really important to them, because what you think is important to you a lot of times is not. And because it's not actually important, but you're walking around as if it is, you're not in alignment. You're not living balance. And I want to help you live balanced. All right. So recap real quick. The 4 reasons why you got here. The 4 reasons why you're overthinking is religion. You are too focused on consequences and punishment because religion has drilled that into your mind. So you're constantly overthinking about your decisions. Anytime your decisions do not align with your religious beliefs, you're overthinking them. Number 2 is parenting. So whether you had a very strict parent, a very overcritical parent, or a helicopter parent, this is going to dictate how much you trust yourself to make decisions. If you had a helicopter parent, your parent most likely never gave you the chance to figure things out on your own. So you overthink a lot of things because you're like, well, damn, I don't really know what to do. Who do I call? How do I handle this? You're going to overthink it. Whereas if you had a very strict or overcritical parent, you probably have very harsh thoughts. You probably have very harsh views of yourself. And that's going to make you overthink because anytime you make a mistake, anytime you do something wrong, anytime you're not really sure of what to do, your first thought process is probably going to be negative about it. Number 3 is your locus of control. You have an internal locus of control or an external locus of control. People that have an external locus of control are more likely to overthink simply because they do not believe that they have control over outcomes. So they're going to spend more time overthinking things because they don't feel like they have control. And last but not least is your values. So your values dictate and direct how you think. What you value is going to dictate what you think about. It's going to dictate what you think about. So those are the 4 reasons that you got here. Those are the 4 reasons that you've been overthinking. That's why you have gotten here. So last week we had an activity, and the activity was about what symptoms are you experiencing. So the 5 symptoms that we talked about last week was difficulty concentrating, trouble, and this is symptoms of overthinking. So difficulty concentrating, trouble sleeping, trouble making decisions, negative self-talk, and unable to relax. So last week, I asked you, what are those symptoms? Write down instances where you have experienced these symptoms of overthinking. So I wanted you to write down moments where you experience overthinking. That was last week's activity. This week, I want you to list the emotions and thoughts that came up during those experiences. And I want you to pay attention to any patterns that come up. So I want you to list the emotions and thoughts that came up during those experiences. And I want you to pay attention to any patterns. So maybe you have a pattern where there's a fear of failure. Maybe you have a pattern where you are worrying about what others think. What is your pattern for overthinking? And I want you to do that as your activity for today. Again, thank you everybody for joining me. Thank you everybody for joining. If you are tired of overthinking, you are tired of being in this exhausting cycle all day long, then I have the perfect solution for you. DM me Balance so that way you can get 50% off a balanced pathway planning session. So in this session, you are going to get clarity about where you want to go, what you want to do, what you need to get rid of, and how to get there. You're going to get an actionable plan that will give you step by step on how to get there and how to achieve that goal that you have been trying to achieve on your own for so long. So since you joined me today, I definitely want you to message me the word balance so that way I can give you 50% off this session. I will be offering 50% off sessions for my email list. And so if you're not on my email list, definitely message me balance to get on the email list as well. But everyone that joins me for Balanced Millennial Monday and my email list will be getting 50% off a balanced pathway planning session. I would love for y'all to book a session so that I can help you overcome this cycle of overthinking, because all you need is a little bit of clarity to achieve a balanced lifestyle. So thank y'all so much for joining me. I will see y'all again next week, where we're going to wrap this up next week. And anytime you have questions, want to know something that I haven't talked about, whatever the case may be, definitely send me a message, because you know I got y'all. Thank y'all for joining me for this Balanced Millennial Monday. I'll see y'all again next week.
overthinking it.